Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I am Maria Casillas, joined here by my co-host, Cody Sizemore. Cody, how are you today?
I'm doing just dandy. How you doing?
That's awesome. I'm doing really, really well. Thank you. I think I saw that you had recently gone on some vacation, had taken a little break, got to meet your wife's family for the first time. So It's really great to see you back here after that.
Yeah, thanks. It was much needed. It was her extended family. So like aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmother, something that we've been trying to do for a few years, but a couple things came into play like COVID, and then after that, there was like something that happened on my end, and then there's something that happened on her end, and it was like a 3-year debacle. So we finally did it, and it was great. I was able to unplug and meet them, and it was a fun time. So
that's wonderful, and they like you as much as they should, right?
I'm hoping so.
I'm sure
really hoping so.
What's not to like? Well, I'm really glad that you're back. I'm happy to be back on the airwaves with you. And I have something I actually would love to talk to you about. But before we do that, I think there was something that you wanted to share with our listeners.
Yeah. So we have a very special treat for you. So brace yourself. I'm going to just do you guys a favor, and I'm not going to give it to you right now because good things come to those who wait. So I'm going to dangle the carrot. And I'm going to tell you that I think this is like our 96th episode or something like that.
It is.
I think that we should start putting numbers next to the episodes in the description.
So a long time ago, I think that was poo-pooed on. I don't.
No, I love it. I love it. So we'll talk to Mike. Mike's our producer.
It wasn't poo-pooed on by our producer. It was poo-pooed on by, I think, like the powers that be. Like if you put them on there, they were going to take it down or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I know we're around 96 today.
Yeah. So point is that we're around 96 or so. And we have a very special treat for you when our 100th episode gets released. We have a special guest on there. Someone that if you're in the financial coaching space and you don't know who this person is, I don't really understand what you're doing. You're probably living under a rock. This is like a big name. He is very, very well known, and he's done quite a bit in his career. So we're very, very excited about that, and we can't wait to show you. So make sure that you get, that you're sticking around, that you're plugging in every week. Otherwise, you might miss it. But when you see it, you'll know. You'll be like, oh, that's the one. So, yeah, be ready. It's going to be fun.
It's sure to be a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So speaking of good conversations, I saw something that you posted because our audience knows I follow you and like to see what you do. I keep an eye on my co-host. In all seriousness, I saw something about you wanting to hire somebody. I think Sizemore Financial Coaching is expanding and growing, and you were wanting to hire somebody on. And so I actually would love to hear a little bit more about what you're doing and how you kind of came to that conclusion. And maybe you can share a little bit about the process that you're going to go through so our audience can start doing some similar stuff when they're ready.
Yeah. So it's true. It's definitely true. I am bringing on my first, what I would call a junior coach.
Okay.
It's not like a partner or anything like that. He's someone who's going to be, working under me and kind of helping me, as well as, helping more people. That's the whole goal. That's why I did it in the first place, is because there are just some people that I personally just can't help, like with the level that I'm at, and, with, how my services are priced and all that kind of stuff. There's definitely some people that reach out to me for support that I'm just like, yeah, like, it's just not in the cards for you. So usually I'll just give them a quick, piece of advice or give them a free resource and say, hey, here you go. If things turn around or improve in any way, you're more than welcome to reach back out, but let's keep in touch. And I hope this helps. Right. And that's happened a lot. So, I always think about that and I'm like, I wish that I could help those people and I could help them, but I'd be so tied to my computer that it would negatively take away from my family, so, and I don't want that. So this was a cool way to, help those people, when they do come to me and I can, pass them along to my junior coach for them to be coached by them. So, the whole thing was actually brought about because the junior coach, he was actually a past client of mine. And yeah. And, I think I worked with him like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And he's been the type of client that like did super, super well when we were working together. And then when we stopped working together, he always kept in touch. We probably touch base like every couple weeks or every 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. He always give me updates, just stuff like that. Like his entire life changed. When we first started working together, he had nothing in savings. He had a ton of debt, the whole nine. Right. And then, fast forward a year or so later, he had no debt. He had, 20 or 30,000 in the bank. He bought his first house. He got a promotion at work, like all this kind of stuff. It really changed his life.
A complete flipperoo.
What's that?
I said a complete flipperoo. That's awesome.
Yeah, a complete flipperoo. Completely flipperoo.
We're going to pretend that that's a word.
So he approached me one day and he was like, I think that I want to do what you're doing. Can we grab coffee and kind of just talk about that? And I was like, yeah, man, like no problem. So we grabbed coffee, we started chatting, and he basically told me that like, while he liked his job and he was very good at his job, he found that his job wasn't making the impact that he was hoping, and he also found that, the types of people that he was working with also weren't really like trying to fully better their lives all the time. And he found a lot of frustration with that. And he's like, I'm just not fulfilled. I feel like, my purpose is, being kind of like pressed under a thumb, like that kind of thing. And he's like, I was thinking about it and this literally changed my life. And I want to help other people feel that same way, So we started talking and, he was asking questions. He actually was listening to this podcast for a while before we actually met for coffee. So he's been like, learning and all that kind of stuff. And one thing led to another. And one of us, I can't remember if it was him or me. I think it was me. I said, hey, what would you think about potentially like helping me out, and having it kind of look like this? And he was like, that's an interesting thought. I never thought about that, but let me sit on it for a little bit and I'll let you know. So a week passed and he says, I think that I would like to have a conversation about that. So we grabbed another cup of coffee, talked things through, and I'm going to be bringing him on.
That's amazing.
We got our agreement all set up and everything like that. So, now he's going through a few phases before I actually, start passing clients to him. But that's pretty much where we're at right now. So yeah, it's exciting. Sizemore Financial Coaching is expanding. And now that I have this in the works, I can also see it expanding more in the future. Of course, we'll need to see how it goes, but I see how the brand and the practice can grow in multiple ways like this.
Yes. Well, first off, let me just say congratulations to you. I think that's really, really an awesome development in your business. Let me also go back and just pull out a few things that I heard as you were sharing that. One of them is I didn't hear anything about scalability. I think a lot of times coaches, they are out there trying to, figure out how to scale their business so that they can make more money in less time, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't hear that from you. Instead, I heard that you actually wanted to be able to help more people. And the people that you were having to turn away, this is actually a really good solution to be able to help them, but not have to be just sending them somewhere else or nowhere else if they're not able to afford what else is out there. So I just think that is really, really great. I also see an absolute win-win between you and this other individual. You have done such an incredible job of marketing and having other people understand what the message is that, Sizemore Coaching has for people. And that is, let's get real. That is a huge hump to get over for a lot of people. And this individual isn't going to have to do a lot of that. That's one of the huge benefits of being what we at New Money Habits have actually coined as 1099 coaches. It's one of the benefits of being a 1099 coach is that you can do what you're really good at, and that's sit knee to knee with somebody, or in this case, camera to camera. But you can help them through those things, but you as an individual don't have to go out and do some of that extra legwork for marketing because perhaps that's not your jam and it's not something that you want to waste your time doing. So I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your ability to see that and help him, whoever he is, to not have to jump through that hoop and still be able to jump into what he's good at, and that's helping individuals. So I wanted to point that out. And I think the other thing that I heard a few times in a couple different ways, and I don't remember them all, but I heard this theme, and that was a theme of alignment. It was a theme of fulfillment. It was understanding that, there are things that if it's not in alignment with what we are doing or with who we're trying to become, then it becomes not even cool. And I know one of the examples you threw out was his job. That was one thing. But another one was when you had to say no to certain clients. It wasn't just because they couldn't afford you. Sometimes they just weren't in alignment with who you are or what you offer. And because there are differences between you and who this individual is, then you have another person to offer to them. So I just wanted to point those things out because I think they are so, so important when we are trying to figure out who it is that we're trying to work with and what our business model or our business personality, what our business identity is going to be. And so I just applaud you for recognizing that right off the bat and finding a solution that is a win-win for both of you.
Yeah. And, you brought up scalability. I'm not going to sit here and say no, I wasn't thinking about that at all. Of course, there's a portion of that, but the idea and the intention behind the whole thing was not simply to just be this is a quick cash grab,
right. It wasn't for the sake of scalability.
Yeah. It first and foremost was about why I'm doing this in the first place, Of course, there will be some sort of scalability to it as a natural byproduct, but the backbone of it does have to do with what's important to me and why I started doing this in the first place. So
absolutely,
and and with the alignment side of things, just talking about him in particular, him feeling not fulfilled with, the work that he's doing, even though it's a great job and he's good at it. He's just there's something missing. Right. That, like you said about, the win-win of him not having to do the extra legwork of the marketing and,
client acquisition
calls and consultations and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and say that he won't do any of that, but it'll be far less. The fact that that's being said, it allows him to also step into why he wants to do it immediately. Right. And to just not even worry about that other stuff that's distracting, that's about marketing and business and money and all that kind of stuff. He can just step in and go into a proven system and just say, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to make a change. Right. So I agree with you. It is definitely a win-win. And in fact, I would even say this is an office quote. It's a new show that I'm watching. Never seen it. It's my first watch through. But this would be constituted as a win-win-win. Because it's a win for me, it's a win for him, and it's a win for the clients as well.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, I'm actually really excited for you about that. It actually sounds a lot like some of the book that we're reading, Who Not How, and I won't get into a lot of that, but that book that I've been reading for a book study actually had me thinking about who can I hire? And it reminded me that I've wanted to hire somebody for a long time. And I'm actually just going to tease it here because I think it would be a really good completely separate episode. It's kind of along these lines, but a little bit different, and it's for a slightly different audience. So if, with your permission, I'm going to hang on to it till next week. But it is something that seems to be cropping up a little bit. So I really appreciate you sharing that today. I'm confident that there are several people in our audience who are either brand new and thinking like, how do I get started with somebody? And, this whole idea of a 1099 coach is actually a great thing to consider. So, if you don't want, and I've met many people who are like this, they just want to coach. They do not want to be a business owner, like right? And
sometimes I feel like that.
Well, it's because that's your God-given thing. Like, it's what you are meant to do, and the other stuff you're willing to do. But some people are like, I don't have time for that. It's not something that I want to have to do right now. So it is okay to say, okay, who can I kind of latch onto and do things the way they do? Who am I in alignment with? And they're willing to give me a portion, I don't know how you've set it up with this person, but I know how we set it up. And it's that, we do, it's kind of like a finder's fee, if you will, that you get a portion of all the work that you do. And it's a lot easier. You actually get paid more that way sometimes than going out and trying to, do it all yourself. So, if you're just starting out, I do encourage you to think about ways to do that. But also if maybe you've been in business for a really long time and you're kind of in a spot where Cody is, I think one of the biggest things I love about what you mentioned though, Cody, was that he came to you. And so as you coaches are out there doing what you do so well, just realize that you are creating an impact with other people, and you might not be lucky enough for them to come to you and say, hey, this is something I want to do. But Cody was lucky enough to have this person do that. And so I just wanted to, again, just say kudos to you, Cody, for not only making an impact in this person's life, but for empowering them to also make an impact in the lives of others and know that they could come to you in order to help with that.
Yeah. And if it's okay, I would like to kind of speak to the more established coaches just for a second, because I think that I know that if I was listening to this and I was like, I've been coaching for a few years, I've built my practice up to a certain point, and I feel like I'm super busy, I just got a lot going on, and having someone to help would be appealing. I would want to know like what that kind of looks like. So, I think that I would like to kind of share what my thought process is and the structure of like, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 with this junior coach. To kind of explain what that might look like if someone else is considering that too. I
think that would be deeply valuable. Ready, set, go.
Cool. So the way that I'm doing this, first and foremost, is that we would have like a coaching agreement kind of thing. I called it like a non-compete agreement, which is basically me saying like, hey, I'm going to give you and show you and teach you the keys to the castle. So you can't take all this stuff and just walk out one day and then take all my clients or take my curriculum or, use my strategies or whatever. You can't just do that kind of thing. Right. So that's number one, is just having some sort of like agreement, kind of protecting yourself. So we got that all set up and ready to go. So he did that. So now he's in what I would call phase 1, which is the education side of things. So like I mentioned, he went through my program about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, but it's changed since then.
Absolutely.
Right? Like there's been growth. I've taken things out. I've put things in. So there's there's that, but then there's also the fact that he was in the program looking through the lens of the client, not the coach, right? So my kind of educational process with him, education and training kind of thing, would be, for me to send him some recordings of my recent coaching sessions with people. Of course, make it a private server, private link kind of thing, and just have him study it and take notes. And we can touch base after each session, and he can pick my brain and I can explain and stuff like that. Or I could point out things that I want to make sure that he understands, that kind of stuff. So, that's kind of like a 2 to 3 week period to where he's going to unpack those, take notes. We can discuss it. We can go back and forth, that kind of stuff. Then phase 2 would be for him to do 2 things. One is role play with me, and then also getting all of his systems set up. So, he'll need a Zoom account. He'll need a Calendly account. He'll need, a few other things, few other resources that he just has available to him. So, what that looks like is just getting set up with those things, but then also hopping on a Zoom with him and just saying, hey, I'm the client. You're the coach. Here's my situation. Coach me. Right. And just do role play. And then I can give him feedback on what he did well, what he should be doing differently, that kind of stuff. Right. So it's kind of like a training kind of phase. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll probably, get him set up with an email. We'll get him set up with some a photo shoot with me and also for himself as well. And then we can enter into phase 3, which is starting to coach, now, as far as the agreement goes, it's the same thing that you had kind of said, it's a percentage kind of thing. Right now, the way that I'm handling it is that I'm going to take consultations. And as I find those people, I will then basically pitch them coaching from my junior coach. And with that being said, he would get a certain percentage. I would get a certain percentage, and we're good kind of thing. Which is good for both him and me. He's getting paid for his work, and that was a mutually agreed percentage on that. And it's good for me because this is where the scalability comes in, is that the only work that I'm putting in would be the consultation itself, and then also just supporting him as the coach throughout his coaching endeavor. But as far as the actual sessions go for the clients, that's all on him, so there's that scalability side of things to where I'm spending less time with clients, but I'm still making an income from it. Granted, it won't be a large income, but it will be some sort of reoccurring kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. I would like, if I may, to go back to I think it was phase 2, which was the training. It's more of a curiosity question. You mentioned that he would be, looking at videos of you and coaches. And then you did mention that you would role play with him and that you would be able to give him feedback on that. I don't think you explicitly said this, so I'm actually just curious. Are you going to be recording your role play sessions with him so that he can go back and look at those?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that was in there. I don't think you said it. So for anyone who's listening, that is a really, really important component. Just take that from somebody who went and got a degree and all of that. And role playing was a big thing, and watching yourself sometimes, not fun, but that's how we learn. And then other times when we're the person who's coaching through that, we might either remember something that was said erroneously, or we might, forget something. And that's very human, that we don't remember it all. And so it's really good for him to be able to see that actually take place and watch his body language, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm thrilled to know that you're going to be doing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super important, just having that extra asset is very, very important. And it's kind of a cool thing too, that let's say that he starts coaching and he does it for a year. He could go back and watch those and just be like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look how
far
far
I've come.
You
That's
know?
right. That's right. I mean,
So.
it's with anything, I've probably mentioned here before that I'm teaching my daughter to drive, and that's when we started in a parking lot versus where we are now. It's like every time we drive by that parking lot, I'm like, do you remember when we were only able to drive around there? And, to be able to just look back and see what the growth has been. So I love that you're able to do that with him as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you're at that point and it's something that you've been thinking about, maybe consider it. If you haven't thought about it, maybe consider it. Or maybe not. Do what's best for you. And if this is something to where you're first starting out and you're like, man, like that would be sweet to get to that point, you very well could, or if you're just now getting started out and you're someone like Maria was explaining. Describing. Yeah. Describing.
You've been working with me way too long. Now you're getting all your words screwed up.
To where you're like, I don't like doing the marketing. It's not fun for me. It is a complete and utter chore. And I just want to focus on coaching. Then having this kind of setup might be a good route for you as well.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for, as always, being super transparent with us and letting us kind of peek behind the curtain and really see what's going on over where you're making a difference in the world. We really do appreciate that. And, we encourage every single person who's listening today, if you haven't yet joined our Facebook group, we encourage you to do that. In fact, we know you haven't because our Facebook group is not as big as our listenership. So we encourage you to come on over. We are in Facebook at New Money Habits Financial Coaches, and we would love to have you there. Just answer a few questions. We really just kind of want to know where you heard from us. And in this case, it'd be the podcast. And we want to know what stage you're in. So it's super simple questions. And we just would love to have your questions there. And we are happy to give you the support with this kind of stuff and anything else that's going on your plate. So we encourage you to come over that way.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for listening. We will catch you next week for a similar discussion, it sounds like, but slightly different.
I'm just going to tee it up. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Cody. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching. Music provided by Summer School.